Stories of service from our local veterans.
Dad was born in Anawan, Illinois. Had a sister who I think was 10 years older, and then another sister who was 5 years older. And they grew up in Kewanee. Dad was by then a professional musician and accordionist. Mom worked at Downing's Dairy. She was 18, he was 25. He must have just come from playing at Mirando's or someplace like that, or was on his way more likely. And so he had a tuxedo on. She said he bought a 25-cent malt and he left her a 25-cent tip. He must have thought that little Swedish farm girl was pretty cute. They got married in August of 1940. June of that year he enlisted and ended up in the U.S. Army Air Corps, which became the Air Force after World War II. The plane that Dad was on the day he got shot down was the last one to come out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. He volunteered one day for a plane called the Tulsa America. The pilot that day was a fellow named Ford, and he had just come back from stateside. He and Dad and I think maybe another person were volunteers to that plane that day, not part of the normal crew. They took off on a mission to bomb a ball bearing factory in Poland and try to slow down the German war machine. You know, they were bombing, things like that. And they were told by military intelligence that there would be literally no enemy fighters, which turned out to be far from true. They were waiting for them above the clouds. The enemy pilots had been waiting, flying above the clouds, waiting, and then saw these four were separated from the rest. And so they went after them, and they recognized ball turrets were up, and so they came from beneath. And quite a few of the planes got shot down. 2 of the 4 in Dad's group got shot down immediately, and the Tulsa America and the other plane got shot up and left the battle, headed back to try to get back to, I think, Yugoslavia. They didn't make it. They ran out of fuel, so they 100 plus miles an hour. They hit the Adriatic Sea December 17th, 1944. He stepped out onto the wing where it normally wouldn't be and thought he was the first one out. And then he looked out and he saw a bunch of the crew out there swimming away from the plane. So then he knew he'd been knocked out briefly. And he wondered about the tail gunner who had been injured during the battle. And Dad had given him first aid. So he wondered if he got jammed in. He went back in to what had to be a fast sinking plane, and the tail gunner was jammed in there. He pulled him out onto the wing, and he popped what they called their their vests, and they began to swim away. Unfortunately, when the plane hit, the pilot, the co-pilot, and the navigator all died. He hated conflict, and at one point let me know that he always felt guilty about dropping bombs that he knows didn't all hit enemy target. He got the Good Soldier's Medal for saving his crew member's life, and the Purple Heart for 1 or more injuries.